Hi there guys, and welcome to Aquatrop, which is based in University Malaysia Terengganu. It is one of the 21 centers of aquaculture excellence in the world. The main objective is to help increase the national aquaculture production in conjunction with the country's aspiration, which is agriculture, to be the third growth engine of the national economy. Speaking about aquaculture and also fisheries, these are some of the booming industries which remain an important source of food, nutrition, income, and livelihoods for hundreds of millions of people around the world. It is therefore evident that fish continues to be one of the most traded food worldwide, with more than half of fish exports originating in developing countries. Recent reports by various organizations all highlight the tremendous potential of the oceans and inland waters now, and even more so in the future, to contribute significantly to food security and adequate nutrition for a global population expected to reach 9.7 billion by 2050. The undeniable challenge, though, is knowing and understanding factors that could have direct or indirect implication for aquaculture and fisheries. It is interesting to note that even FAO 2016 recognizes the increased threat of diseases to aquaculture and fisheries. In many authors have examined various factors on the spread and occurrence of diseases in farm aquatic organisms and shifts in the distribution of parasites and pathogens. So my topic for today will cover what is socioeconomics pertaining to the effects to fish parasitism. Then on a small scale, we will have a brief overview on the effects of parasites on fish health. From this, we can then relate the various ways parasites may impact economically important fisheries, and I will also discuss on human health implications of fish parasites. At the end of the lecture, I will sum up on some of the measures used to controlling parasite infections. Socioeconomics, also known as social economics, is the study of how economic activities, being regional or global, can have an impact on the progress or regress of a society. In regards to economics of aquaculture and fisheries, fishes and shellfish, as formerly mentioned, are an important commodity. Therefore, socioeconomists would want to analyze what are the resulting social impacts with respect to economic change. For example, how does ecological changes affect fish stock decline? In our study, we would relate how parasitism can have an impact towards the society. In order to understand that, let us understand how damages are brought about towards the fish itself. There is a dire need for researchers to constantly research and update on the different effects that parasites have on fish health. We have formally discussed in topics 1 to 3 on the different kinds of fish parasites and the diseases they are responsible for. Ivanovich, 2011, has categorized these types of fish damages in 3 ways: mechanical damage, such as fusion of gill lamellae and tissue replacement. The second, physical damage, such as cell proliferation, immunomodulation, detrimental behavior responses and altered growth. And third, reproductive damage, of which energy and nutrients are taken up by the parasites from the fish, or indirectly by increasing the activity of the fish immune system. These changes can reduce growth, fecundity, and survival, change behavior and sexual characteristics, and result in many other maladaptive alterations of the infected host, as shown here in these pictures. Such changes could bring about significant consequences not only towards the individual host level, but towards the population, community, and ecosystem levels as well. For further reading on this subtopic, please refer to Ivanovich's paper provided here. Now, on a large scale, in regards to parasites of economic importance, there are four main ways in which parasites can have an impact, in reference to Sinderman 1990. Firstly, mortality associated with pathogenetic infections or indirect mortality from increased levels of predation on stocks can reduce the number of fish stocks. So, for example, parasitic fungi have been associated with recent mass mortalities of economically important species. Second, nutritionally demanding parasites or those that impair foraging behavior may cause poor growth performance. So, two examples. The first, chronic level cestodes infestations of salmonids in aquaculture lead to economically significant reduced body weight at harvest. Another example, Biacodoa species are capable of intensity-dependent effect on muscle texture in Atlantic salmon Salmonella. Third, consumer abhorrence to visible infections can increase wastage and processing costs, henceforth affecting fisheries and aquaculture industries. Consumer rejection may be based on the presence of the parasites themselves, which may present itself as a health risk, or, more frequently, it is based on damage caused to host musculature, as in this picture, which reduces palatability, aesthetic quality, and hence marketable value. Finally, changes in the size or structure of an infected host population may have consequences for the performance of other species in the community, some of which may also have commercial value. These mechanisms are likely to be complex, but may be positive. For example, if they result in emancipation from predation or competition, or negative. For example, if the parasite exhibits density-dependent host switching. At this stage, you can begin to visualize parasite impact towards the fish health and how this directly affects the economy of fisheries. But what about human health? Before discussing this any further, we must first understand the term zoonosis. Zoonosis is any disease or infection that is naturally transmissible from animals to humans. Zoonosis may be bacterial, viral, or parasitic, or may involve unconventional agents. Foodborne diseases caused by eating fishes, which have zoonotic potential, is called fish-borne parasitic zoonosis. So, fish-borne parasitic zoonosis has started out since the late 1950s and has bloomed in 1980s especially with the growth in aquaculture production. Sinderman in 1990 highlights three major groups that gives rise to fish parasite diseases, and as to date is still applicable with demonstrated public health significance. These groups that I'm referring to are, number one, the nematodes, represented by the families Anisakidae and Gnostomatidae. The second, the cestodes, where members are represented from the family Diphylobothridae. And third, the digenetic trematodes, especially species of the families Ophistochidae and Heterophidae. I have provided some examples of fish-borne parasitic zoonosis for each of the representative major groups. Please view those slides at your own time. This picture is a good representation of the various zoonotic diseases from the consumption of raw fish, mainly from the consumption of regional fish dishes such as sushi, sashimi, etc. In the case of Anisakiasis, over 1,000 cases of this disease have resulted from the invasion of the human digestive tract by Anisakis nematodes, and they were reported from 1969 to 1977 in Japan. In 2005, more than 56 million people worldwide were estimated to be infected with foodborne trematodes, and over 7,000 people have died from this infection. So what am I saying here? It basically goes to show how established the habit of raw fish eating is in some cultures, and for how important it is to educate the public on such matters. So, we now know what parasites are capable of doing towards fish health, human health, and its economic impact. But what about measures for control? Barber and Paulin in 2008 discussed the following in three ways: using natural parasite control mechanisms, using biological controls in fish farms, and drugs or chemicals and vaccine development. With regards to natural control mechanism, there are two strategies available for limiting parasite load: avoiding parasites or eliminating them through following infections. For one, fishes have been known to alter their behavior and abuse their immune system and antibodies to combat pathogens and parasites. Other modes of regulation that has been observed to combat against ectoparasites are fishes rubbing their body against hard substrates to rid of parasites. In regards to biological controls for fish parasites, cleaner fish have recently been used as an alternative to chemicals. Specialized and/or potential cleaner fish can reduce the number of monogenes or copepods per fish when introduced in tanks or sea cages containing cultured fish, such as tilapia or Atlantic salmon. With regards to the third point, vaccine development has now reached formidable recognition and can be used as an alternative to the drugs that are listed here. If one isn't happy with the use of chemicals or drugs, the lower-tech solution would be to control outbreaks or indirectly transmitted parasite, principally by removing or controlling intermediate host.
So if you are interested in knowing more about this lecture, I have some examples of references here. I will provide additional reading on this MOOC course as well. Well guys, based on this lecture, you would now be able to answer what is socioeconomics and the importance of parasites pertaining to aquaculture and fisheries. On a small scale, how do parasites cause damage to hosts? We looked at it on the mechanical, physiological, and reproductive perspectives. Third, the four main parasites' economic importance towards fisheries. And number 4 and 5, a brief overview of human health implications from fish parasites and the ways of controlling infections. Well, that's all, folks. I really hope you enjoy your journey with the Parasite Squad, and it has been very fruitful and insightful on the world of fish parasites for you. They are certainly organisms to be admired because, small as they are able to adapt, manipulate, and survive in an ever-changing world. So for more information, please contact us from the details provided, or better yet, come over to UMT. We are more than happy to welcome you and have parasite talks. So until we meet again, thanks for tuning in. Ta-ta!